Probably my first contact with art was at my grandmother's house. She was a painter. But even before I would have seen her paintings, I probably would have seen her art history textbooks. But the thing that made her books unique is that she took a felt marker and drew bathing suits onto all of the nudes in these textbooks. It was this kind of like modified version of an artwork that I saw, her intervention in an earlier art practice. That was definitely formative for me. I work as an artist. I also teach in art history. I have a research practice in art history. I write art criticism periodically. All of these elements for me work together and have evolved naturally and nourish one another. In my research in art history, I often come across practices that capture my imagination or my ardor. And one of the ways that I've been working recently as an artist is to revisit practices of other artists that have contributed something to me. That's something that they left for me and other people to encounter. And it offers a kind of thread or connection back to another time in history. And that connection across time is something that's really meaningful for me. The uncertainty and ever-changing nature of a relationship between two people or more than two people, the morphing of relationships that I think makes them so powerful, is part of what attracts me to relationships as a subject or a linchpin in my practice. So with my work, I try to capture both a particular moment in relating, but also open up the possibility for that relationship to change. There's a lot of site specificity in what I do, but I think as well that I want there to be an adaptability. So the site specificity, it often begins in the construction of the work, but then the installation of the work, when it's shown a second time, I hope can be just as site-specific, where it works with the architecture that's there, the institution or ideology that's at play in a certain space. Many of my works are in series. I won't say that they're in a chronological relationship necessarily, but it's a frequent occurrence in my practice that one element from an earlier work will be abducted and used in a work 2 or 3 years later, whether it's a particular color or a particular icon or drawing could transition from appearing on the front of a sweater to turn into a neon. Or a text might appear on a poster, but then also in a net floating in water. The reason that I'm interested in working with text now is because it's a way of communicating a form of idea that involves a lot of interpretation on behalf of my audience. So especially working with short text, I think gives an audience an opportunity to bring an idea from me into their own mind and explore it on their own terms. I'm especially interested in the way that text functions in public space and how text can catch you by surprise, especially when text is presented in a very spare, unadorned kind of way or in a surprising environment. I think it makes us think twice or look twice at that text and take it in a different way. I'm drawn to collaboration because I like people. A lot of the work that I've done in the last few years is a product of working closely with fabricators, technicians, quilters. I think that for me as an artist, it expands me more if I'm in an environment where I interact with other people's ideas and values. I just like working with others. Sometimes visiting museums, I feel like I'm having a out of proportion emotional response to an artwork that I see, and I look around and think, well, maybe everyone else is having the same kind of intensity of feeling. And so I try and highlight those emotional responses in my work, either by giving my audiences the opportunity to very directly share their emotions with the rest of the visitors, or by putting them in a situation where they're confronted with their own feeling in response to my work. One of the best responses that I would hope for from my visitors to this exhibition is for them to experience a kind of complexity of feeling. I think that one of the most productive feelings that people can have in response to art is to be troubled, actually. And if something can be beautiful but also troubling, or beautiful but also cause questioning, I think that that's a terrific outcome. So I'd like to have some combination of those sorts of feelings.